Recording.
Okay. All right. So do you guys want to start with the PDF or the readings in the book?
Whatever.
Okay. Did you guys? You finished the reflections, right?
I finished reflections. I didn't read through all of the D12 reading.
Yeah, it was long. It was like 24 pages. Yeah, something like that.
So
what were the page?
Yeah.
What were the page numbers for that D2L one? Do you know?
I don't know exactly. I just know it was on like week 5 or whatever.
week 5, right? Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. We can start. I mean, I didn't read that one. I read the ones in the text. So.
Okay. It was basically talking about how the Wilderness Act started up and why it did, and then it kind of talked about I might be missing one of the two of them actually, but basically it was talking about the Wilderness Act and what each section was talking about and why they enforce it and stuff like that.
Okay.
I did my in-depth reflection on that one.
Okay.
Did you? Okay. So is it worth to read then? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good actually. They had a few good points. I don't have it right in front of me, which I should, but it had a few good points about obviously why we need to protect certain parts of landmarks. It was kind of more about I don't know how to describe this, but there's like certain national parks and stuff that they protect, and that's what's called the wilderness and why they call it the wilderness and
Okay.
stuff.
Cool.
So, it seems to be a lot about Congress and the laws behind it. Okay.
It was a little more
political,
boring than it was the other stuff in the book, because that one is more like concrete stuff, and this stuff's more like ethical philosophy, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and that one was more like laying down the laws and why this is that way and this and this and that.
Okay, yep, that makes sense.
Even set out the certain sections.
Okay. So it's pretty specific.
The Wilderness Act and stuff.
Yeah. I think they mentioned the Wilderness Act in both of these.
I don't know, like 20 minutes? Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it did in a few of them. Well, it did. There was some other act in one of them.
Yeah. Was that the only D2L?
But it was mostly that one was.
Okay.
Yeah, there was one D2L.
Okay.
All right. But I did all the text ones. These ones were actually pretty cool, except the last one. The last one was kind of weird.
I was a little confused with the last one.
Yeah.
But the first two were kind of similar in a way, I thought.
Yeah, I feel like, they all were kind of a little bit similar.
Yeah.
Especially the first two. Let me get to the last one. Yeah, the Radical American Environmentalism. Is that what you guys are talking about?
Yeah, that one was not straightforward.
Got a little confused on it, honestly. It goes through the deep ecology and what that means and stuff, and didn't it talk about anthropocentrism and then biocentrism and stuff, and I got a little confused because it was talking about how basically society is anthropocentric, and then how if we should switch to biocentrism, but then it kind of contradicts itself, and I don't know if he's just was stating something and then just stating his opinion by saying biocentrism isn't really realistic.
Yeah, I kind of got that too.
Which I kind of get, but I just feel like it was a little bit contradicting.
Yeah. Let's see.
Oh, and then it was saying stuff about civilization and the wilderness coexisting, and then that that's possible if everything's kind of equal, we have equal I don't know, regulations and stuff for the environment as we do for civilization.
Right. It's all balanced and stuff.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Which
I think it'd be so difficult to switch or to shift from anthropocentrism to biocentric just because people are so stuck in their ways. Like, how do you
right.
teach
Yeah, and I
so
think
many
that's
people about what's going on
right.
and
Yeah,
for it
and
to really get through?
for sure. I think that what he was trying to like. That was his point.
Yeah.
And, that things are so hard to change.
Mm-hmm.
Once everything's set in and stuff, everybody's gotten used to their ways.
Right. And it's
Right.
so set in our cultures.
Right.
Yeah.
This is sad. It said something about India too.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say too.
Yeah, how
For the
they
last
do
one?
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Because I think the author's from India, I believe.
Right.
His name looks like it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I don't even know how to say his name.
I have no idea.
And then he was going into like different types of politics, and that kind of confused me.
Right.
But yeah, there were 4
Marxism
rules
and, yeah.
to deep ecology.
Mhm.
I didn't get what exactly all those rules were, but I knew there was just a lot of words in them, I guess.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a lot to take in. Like even for just the rule
Mhm.
2, it was almost a full page.
Mhm.
Exactly. I feel like a lot of them talked about like the absence or like the decrease of human population.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys got that too, but it was kind of I feel like the reason they said that was because in order for like the habitats and stuff to like reset themselves and like come back to like what they originally were, we'd have to like decrease the population and like stop almost all the pollution and stuff. So that's what I think.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up, and like how difficult that would be. Like it's not really possible because it's not ethical to like what they do for deer. We go out there and hunt. If there's too many deer or too many whatever kind of animal,
right?
but
That's
you can't
fixable.
do that with people.
No.
So it's just like you said, it's kind of unrealistic to treat it in the same way because in those points and another point, it's like hard to change people anyway.
Yeah, and I think it's figuring out like in wildlife management, like when it is necessary to manage an ecosystem and when it's okay to just keep hands off and see how natural processes work.
Right. Yeah. I know. I was even kind of thinking like, for instance, natural, like wildfires and stuff. That's a natural thing. Like that happens each, ever so often, and it happens because it helps like the soil and everything grow like eventually.
Right.
But then again, a lot of humans like that's a terrible disaster, which I mean, in a lot of ways it is. And they try to stop it, but really it's the natural thing that happens ever so often and helps
and it's necessary.
Eventually, for things to grow. So
and I think one of the articles I was saying how sometimes our management techniques can be worse than what the natural processes would.
Right. So because I know sometimes species just die off by themselves, like even without human intervention,
We just need to let it be. Yeah,
but obviously
it
doesn't happen as often because we definitely increase the chances of that happening now.
Yeah, that's true.
For sure.
I was just saying how we feel. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Just how that we feel that we need to have so much control over everything, that we need to have our hands in everything.
Yeah, I did. It did say somewhere. I don't know which one it was, but it said like, do we really need like all this information about like animals and stuff? Because I know the way we get their information, like that information is like we mess with like we put like a tag on a fish, which it messes up the way it swims or something, or a collar, and it kind of weighs their head down even more. So like, is all that information really that necessary to be messing with their lives?
Right. Because I never really thought about it like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like humans, in a way, have like a tendency to put too much interference on everything. Basically, I mean, I feel like we need to learn to just let it be, and let things take its natural course, because like or in some ways it's kind of just popped in my head, like if some sort of hunter in the wild, you know, like an animal kills something else, a lot of people like feel bad for that animal, and they try to save that animal that's like dying or whatever, but really like then the other animal's going to die because it needs to eat that animal, and then, you know, this whole process goes through, and then like if you mess one thing up, it's going to mess everything else up too. So I don't know, you just need to let it be sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
You guys want to go on to the next one?
Sure.
Trouble with the wilderness, or with wilderness?
Yeah.
What page is that? Is that 204?
That one's 210, but the other one was the Abstract Wild, I think.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so 210.
Which we could start with that one.
Yeah, I feel like I was just saying, like, can we really call the wilderness wild? Because again, we're just managing it so much.
I thought that was like a really interesting point. I never really sat down and thought about it. You know, you just think that that's the wilderness and that's how it is. But
now that
only
when that was said, yeah.
Right. It's only the wilderness because we say it is, basically, because we set off a certain like part of the world to be wilderness, but like certain environmentalists or people that didn't do that, it probably wouldn't be the wilderness, because it like civilization would come in and basically destroy it, you know.
Exactly.
True. Good point.
So everything is only because humans say it is that.
It has that value that we put on it, you know.
Right.
We kind of put a value on everything.
Right. Yeah, for sure. There was something, I think it might have been in, not the Abstract Wild, but it was in The Trouble with Wilderness. There was one part, I think it was either in one of them, I don't remember which one, but where there was a certain, it's called the Gila Wilderness or something. And, yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Where it's
I think so, yes.
pasture that's used, but they call it wilderness when really it's completely managed by.
Right. That's crazy.
So, which that's the trouble with the wilderness or the Abstract Wild. That's not wild, you know. It's not naturally sustaining itself.
I got a lot of religious talk. I had a lot of like, it was mentioning like different religions and stuff, and it was talking about just like that religious aspect. I mean, I saw that a lot.
Yeah,
yeah, for sure. I thought it was interesting.
And then I also.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I'll go then.
No, go ahead. Yeah. Okay, cool.
What was I gonna say now? Oh, well, how in the 18th century or whatever, like the wilderness was considered something that needed to be maintained, or that was savage country, and it was just kind of in this negative aspect. And now, I mean, that has changed a lot, and it has gotten more positive, because now it's more of like a sanctuary and like a positive thing. Although still not everyone thinks that too. Like there's still this connotation where it needs to be managed and you know, made into civilization or whatever. Right. What were you gonna say, Greg?
It said that what was interesting to me was it said like a tree that is a part of like a religious forest shouldn't be treated differently than like a tree outside of a gas station.
Right.
And then I feel like that has more meaning to it than what we think of it like right away, I guess. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. That we only make like certain, like that's even can kind of relate to like national parks or something. Like that's only should be protected because it is a national park. You know, we don't treat everything else in the world the way that we do a national park or something.
True.
Which it shouldn't be that way. You know, like a tree outside your backyard should be treated the same way as one as a national park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting in the abstract wild, it talked about how natural systems are unstable and they're not supposed to be at a state of equilibrium at all times. So I feel like we think that it needs to be and that it shouldn't be changing. So we need to do what we need to keep it at a constant state. Right. But it's not really supposed to be like that.
Right. And that kind of goes with the natural forest fires and stuff, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
We think it's like this crazy thing that's happening, but really it's not.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how the world
works. So it's just, the way that we look at things, really.
Right.
True.
Even said something, oh, wait a second. Said something about, like, since we try to control everything, you know, like what you said with putting tags, like, on fish and stuff, it said something about, like, putting, collars on grizzlies so we could, like,
right,
or
and how
locate
how
them.
that messes up with
like their natural behavior.
Right. It's kind of selfish in a way, I think.
Yeah, it really is. If you think about it.
Sad. Or did you guys hear about this wasn't brought up in the book, but I just thought of I think it was in Canada or something. It wasn't like recent, it was a while ago. That a lot of wolves were kind of hunting around farms, so then the wolves were going and like eating cows or sheep or whatever. And so they gave these cows and sheep like some sort of that wasn't like a poison, but it was like something to give them, but I guess it didn't affect them. But if the wolves ate it, they would like violently like, throw up and stuff, like get really sick from it. And so then that would teach the wolves to not hunt there, essentially. And which like that's kind of violent, and I mean that they're just doing what comes naturally to them. They see some food.
Exactly, they're just doing their natural instinct, and then we come up so we mess with them by putting a farm in their place, and then we mess them even more by eating, like messing with their prey. And
then we blame them for killing the cows.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And that's why like a lot of wolves.
I didn't hear about though.
Yeah, a lot of like predator animals in a way are going, you know, or they're on endangered species lists or essentially go endangered because we take their prey, we eat it, you know. And there's such a number of cows and like deer and like in that kind of aspect, but predators are really, really dropping down because we're taking that away from them, and so then they die. Or even just going with global warming, you know, we're just affecting every part of their lives and they're just dropping in numbers, which is
unfortunate.
Yeah, and then we're taking over their land and they don't have as much land, and then there's going to be more competition between them, and it's just
it could go in so many different ways,
but that was about it, honestly, for that. I mean, that's about all I got.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're pretty similar. I don't know what else. What time was this? Like 4?
It was like 4:04 or something.
Yeah.
Okay, I am gonna need a dip soon though, because I need to go like in like 5 minutes at most.
Okay,
that's fine.
I don't know if you guys are gonna continue talking, but I think we're pretty much done with the 3 sections, right? That we had to read in the D2L.
Has to know that there were really only a couple of readings this time, so
it could be shorter.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
We've been doing this for almost a half hour anyway.
Yeah, so. I'd say it's fine.
Yeah.
I feel like we have like better discussions than most people because we actually like we don't just talk about this stuff, you know. We also talk about other things too.
Yeah.
But that is part of the class, so.
Right. Cool. Okay, well, I'll just upload this to YouTube again and send it to them via email.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, yep.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.
Sounds good. See you later soon. Yep.